we're all walking each other home. How can we walk together? How can we get one another to where we're meant to be?
Awesome. Okay, let's start with the real basics. Like, who are you and how the heck did we first encounter each other?
Whoa, good question.
Yeah.
I think we first encountered each other at Martha's Vineyard, like buying groceries.
That's actually right.
And
yeah.
I noticed
honestly
you were
forgot.
you were with Kate, and I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, Kate, is this your partner?
Mm-hmm.
I think you were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. So,
Yes, that checks out.
yes, that's right. But who am I? What a wonderful question.
I know.
So, first of all, my name's Amber Kilpatrick. Right now, I'm using a few ways of multifaceted definition, and that is that I'm a spiritual ecologist, an eco-reverend, a mother, a poet, an educator, and a public servant.
Wow. Those are some wonderful terms that we are absolutely going to dive into. But
Okay.
before we dive into that, I do need us to kind of look around. Where are we? Because this is, we asked you where you wanted to do this interview, and you said the Highlands, and we're like, okay, where? And then you said next to a tree, and this is that tree.
This is the tree.
Can you tell us a little bit about this place?
I can. So where we're seated for 100 years prior to this date was a golf course. And so now it is this wild, becoming far more feral place thanks to a collaboration with Blandford Nature Center and the Land Conservancy. So what we're here now experiencing is about 6 years old, but was not too long ago a golf course and had been for 100 years. But prior to that, wild and beloved in this area. So when I was working at Blandford Nature Center, I was a part of the early days of the Highlands.
Okay.
And got to come out here for meetings and walks and talks, as I liked to call them. And stumbled upon this tree, and I just affectionately call it the spirit tree. I think Blandford likes to call it brother birch. It is a birch tree, a white birch. But to me, spirit tree has a bit more resonance.
It does feel like a spirit tree.
Yeah.
It feels like it's seen a lot of things.
Darn right it has.
Yeah, it's got names etched into it.
It does.
But it still seems strong and sturdy, but also expanding at the same time.
Yeah, you got it. All of that. It's seen everything. It's holding strong. It's being abused, and yet it's still here for us in a way of wonder and appreciation. Well, for us, I think.
Awesome.
But hopefully we can appreciate them.
Absolutely.
well.
Well, before I dive in, I have a bunch of questions, and I have a lot of things, but you just touched on something that I think is a through line between us, because we've obviously interacted with each other throughout the years, but we've never really had a ton of one-on-one time or actually sat down and had coffee or any of that. So most of my curiosities are well, I've wanted to talk to Amber for a long time about these, but one thing I knew about you for sure is that you love trees. I think that's transposed to all of the people that have come up through torch bearers or any of your gatherings throughout the years. I think you kind of transfer your love of nature and trees to others, and I kind of finally perked up to it after I read this book called The Over Story by Richard Powers.
Right.
I literally looked at trees differently after that novel, because I didn't realize that trees are talking to each other all the time through mycelium, through their roots, and they protect each other and the resources around them.
Yeah.
And the more I discovered about trees, I was like, I think I understand why Amber and Kate and all these people love trees so much.
Yeah.
They're like the best metaphor for life almost. But I would love for you to...
Yes, and there are so many cultures, indigenous, around the planet who see trees as the givers of life, right? The tree of life. So I'll just affirm everything you said, Caton. For me, my love of trees began as a young child. I was fortunate enough to grow up on 80 acres. So,
oh, wow.
And my home life was not one that always felt safe, and so I was able to escape those feelings and be amongst the trees, the forest, the land. And there were a few trees at that time before I knew what tree huggers were, right? As a little girl, I would hug those trees.
Right.
I would feel safe within their presence. I would give them names, and they became, it became a relationship. And that's just something I've carried throughout my whole life. And, that's a very individualized experience,
Right.
but also one that holds true throughout so many cultures and so many wisdom traditions. So, yes,
Awesome.
the trees are important.
Yeah, they're very important. They're literally the lungs of the planet, if you guys didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. Your work spans multiple areas, as you said, even in the titles around yourself. Eco-spirituality, education, community leadership. How do you define your mission with all of those titles, though, when it comes, how do you bring yourself forward into the different areas that you move in?
Yeah. Well, so it's simple. Well, maybe it's simple, but we'll probably break it down together. I just want to be a blessing in every space that I embody myself in. So from that core, I'm able to say what tools, what skills do I have that's needed here now, and I do my best, right? Probably I fail along some paths and excel in others, but trying to just be a blessing in the spaces that need that. And that foundation is, what's the most loving thing to do here? And so it's really guided by love and seeing that as this overarching energy that truly holds us all together.
I love that. We live in West Michigan, and the spiritual place that we are in there's certain religions that definitely come to the forefront whenever I hear words like blessing or love, or either like a lot of people have things that jump to their minds right away. Is there any difference in how you view those terms in comparison to, say, maybe some of the other religions that are predominant around here?
Wow.
I know that's a pointed question, but it's intentional too.
Yeah, well, I really hope that we're all talking about the same love.
Yeah.
I really hope that that's the thread between all of this, because I see how and why we need religion. We need those spaces and places where people feel that they have meaning and that they have this way of living that gives them purpose and cause. And then I also see how some of those spaces cause harm. I don't know that we're always talking about the same love, but that same love is always there.
I love that. I think that is a really good answer. So, some people might define you as a witch. I'm curious why that is, one, and then two, what would you say in reaction to something like that?
Thank you. So I take that name. I don't know that I claim it in the way some people like to use it.
Right.
But I can see why I would get that title, because I am someone who is deeply in relationship to the earth and to her cycle and rhythms. I see that there's magic around us. That it is in the way a seed can grow, and we don't know what's bringing that energy to the seed, right? What is it that is causing your wounds to heal? Like, what is that thing, right? I mean, of course, science, of course, medicine, of course, there are these steps that we can follow to get some sort of an answer. But what is that overarching energy, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Like, just to maybe ease a little bit of tension even around this. Like, I think and be vulnerable myself. Like, I get culturally labeled as a Christian a lot.
Okay.
I think solely just because of how I present.
Sure.
But the reality is, like, I would probably call myself a mystic at this point, and very, very much in realms of, like, I'm trying to define mystery is a endless cause. Like, it's not, there's no arrival point if you're trying to wrap your arms around whatever that magic is.
Yes. Okay.
So just to give a little bit, like, so that where my questions and prompts are coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just back to this. What would I describe, or how do I define this term witch? Yeah. I'm not going to claim it, because I believe that name belongs to individuals who want to step into that Wiccan religion and really own that as their claim to their religion. But I absolutely have practices that are earth-based,
Right.
and that, I think, most closely linked to paganism.
Okay.
And not that I would label myself one of any of those,
Right.
but I certainly have an affinity for earth wisdom, for indigenous traditions, for this understanding that we're all connected, and that connection is based in this reality that we live upon, which is Earth.
Awesome.
I think also there's one more point I wanted to make here, if I can.
Oh, absolutely.
Back to...
The best part about any of these is like this is recorded. We can edit anything, and you can even go back to a point later. It's all good.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to come back to it. I'm floating away, but
It's
yeah,
okay.
we can move on.
Well, I think you're picking up on a thread around like eco spirituality for me that I would love to explore just a little bit more because of the indigenous wisdom, because of the earth being the center there. I think a lot of people, especially in our culture, really view earth and all of these things as like this resource that can just be used up, and like it's really in service to us, and there's not necessarily a connection point where like somehow above it or somehow disconnected from it. And I'm a huge fan of Wendell Berry, and in college I read a ton of his work, and he was the first person that made me realize that laying down next to a creek or laying down next to swaying corn could be a type of prayer. And I didn't know that up until that point in my life. And I grew up in the country, and I grew up on a farm, and I grew up running and swimming in creeks and like mud on my face, the whole nine. But at no point did I think that I was one with it, because like, I had to kind of evolve to realize like, oh wait, when they talk about being dirt, oh, I am actually dirt.
Yeah.
And then like when I'm also partly stars, like how did that happen? Like all that stuff. So I'm super curious how you
you're all of that.
try to wrap your arms around some of those things.
Yeah. Well, right. It's a big thing to wrap around. I think what's important here is just the distinction that eco-spirituality is this connection to the natural world as something that is sacred, right?
Okay.
And the eco piece of it being ecology, right? This way of organisms working together is that ecology piece, and the environment piece, and then the spirituality piece being something that is bigger than us, but not better than us, not separate from. And that's the message that I think we need to get in our bones more, is that we are not separate from all of this. The harm that we cause to this tree is harm that we're inflicting upon others as well, right? Like so the name's carved in, while it's cute and it's memorable, and I'm sure it was done in love. That's destroying the tree. That's like causing harm and infection that will eventually lead to this tree's death. And how can we be more responsible in our actions, in a way that's causing less suffering for the environments that we're in? And that's really where eco-spirituality, I think, is an opportunity for all of us to explore, in that being better and causing less harm.
Absolutely. Here Here to that. So I definitely want to tie this also. This is strange. I've never talked with anybody that I voted for in any kind of election. I don't think ever, but I definitely voted for you for the Grand Rapids Public School Board. My children go to the GRPS Montessori schools. Well, Frankie will next year, but Will currently is. And I went to Creston High School when I first moved to Grand Rapids, like forever ago. So like I'm very familiar with the storied past, if you will, of GRPS. It's definitely got there's a lot of opinions about GRPS in general. But
as with anything.
Yes, of course. But I'm super curious how you take the work that you are clearly passionate about and in love with, and how does that translate into the community work and showing up on a place like a school board?
Yeah, right. Well, it's just back to how can I be a blessing in this room, right? What's the most loving thing I can do here? I'm a GRPS parent. I've been involved in the system for a long time now. My kids are old. And I could just see that there was a need. I think there was a need for someone like me. There was a need for someone who could see that we're all interconnected in this. What we're doing in one neighborhood or for one school needs to be offered for all of them, right? It's this, just we're all connected. We got to do this work together.
Yes.
It's really not that hard.
Right. Well, I mean, I know we're going to keep landing on the same themes, but I think it really matters, like the interconnected side of this, especially as people and in these different neighborhoods, because I've lived in Grand Rapids a long time, and the different pockets that are clearly distinct in the city has always been something that is very confusing to me, because again, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, then I moved right next to Briggs Park, off of Elmwood, real close to Creston High School. But then, I go to the southeast side, I'm like, holy cow, this is completely different than the northeast side. You go to the west side, wildly different than East Grand Rapids. Like, it's just wild how different our city is. But you're right about the fact that we all kind of need each other, and I think that gets lost all the time.
It does. And back to the ecology piece of eco-spirituality, talking about ecosystems, right? This city is an ecosystem. Our school district is an ecosystem. How are we working in a way that all organisms feel like there's benefit to them? And that's really the foundation of the work, right? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you faced challenges in being open about all of the things that you are open about in these different environments, and like even on the GRPS school board? Are you currently facing anything that you feel is like fighting against you?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm only about 3 months into the role, so we'll see what comes up.
Okay, cool.
No tensions yet.
Good. I love that. I do have a odd question around this, because a lot of people, well, how do I want to say this? I might have to pause myself, because I'm like, I think I tripped over my own thought. What does integrity mean to you, and how do you practice it in both the spiritual and professional? How do those two things intertwine for you? Because I think, that's how I was trying to get at it.
Yeah. Well, for me, I don't separate personal from professional. It's just you get me as a person, and now I'm in professional spaces, right? But for me, like a basic definition of integrity would be, right, the moral character, the kind of the self-regulation that we operate with, the rights and wrongs that we hold true. And given my long history and study with Hinduism and yoga, having those ancient guidelines, right? These guideposts of the yamas and the niyamas, these things that say, here's how we can restrain ourselves in the world, and here's how we should observe ourselves in the world. And if we do these well, we're gonna show up as a pretty darn good person. And we're gonna lead people to be darn good people and set examples for how we should be living together. And I fail, of course. I'm a human.
Yeah.
But I also get back up.
Yeah.
And I'm really appreciative to those practices and principles, as well as the wisdom that we find in Buddhism and the Noble Eightfold Path, or the Eight Noble Truths. They're very similar to what yoga has to say. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and the reason why I'm using the word integrity is because I think it's another arena where people have certain ideas of what that means. And like even like the way that we frame the question around personal and professional, like I do think that we tend to cut ourselves into these little pieces, and we have to show up different in all these different realms. And I don't think that's actually how we're supposed to operate.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's quite funny because like I definitely can even catch myself even with certain settings and certain clients where I am like almost playing a game, and I'm like, ooh, hold yourself. Like, you're not meant to play a game here. You're definitely just to be yourself here.
Yeah.
And whenever I like am actually myself in certain environments, it tends to go substantially better than if I'm playing a game.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Cool. All right. I've got some quick fire questions for you, but then I also want to like transition to an opportunity of like giving you a little bit of a soapbox.
Okay.
So, but the first quick fire question is a book that has deeply shaped your perspective.
Braiding Sweetgrass.
Ooh, who's it by?
Robin Wall Kimmerer.
I have not personally read it yet, but it's on my bookshelf, and a lot of people that I know have read it.
Yeah.
Why did it shape your perspective so much?
Well, I think it was affirming to my perspective as someone who, she's an Indigenous author, and as someone who grew up on an immense amount of land and fell in love with it, to hear her speaking in this language of, well, that's how it's supposed to be. And here's how we have relationship with plants and with trees and with animals in a way that isn't just taking them as resource, but seeing them as something to have relationship with. It was just this light bulb of, wow, okay.
I can do this.
I guess I knew that in my heart. I just didn't have the words for it. So thank you. She and although I don't have the titles memorized at the moment, Joanna Macy is another incredible author and earth worker and person who's trying to bring us back to this sacred relationship with the earth, who I admire dearly. Sharon Blackie does a lot of work in Celtic spirituality, which is of my bloodline, so that's where my indigeneity feels like it's rooted, is in that Celtic work. So
awesome.
there. That was not very...
that's okay. No.
What are these? Quick
fire questions,
yeah,
and
okay.
that's quite all right.
I'll be quicker next time.
Best part about editing is we can literally go chop, chop, chop.
Ding, ding.
Yep. But also, so favorite date spot?
Oh, Cafe Mamo? Or
I knew it was going
right
to be
here.
Mamo.
Like if I'm going out to dinner, Cafe Mamo. Otherwise,
Right
we're
here?
taking a walk here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to ask. I was like, I literally, when this question was, I bet she says Cafe Mamo. Like, it is one of the best spots in town.
I mean, a close 1A is Gin Gins, if you haven't been there yet.
I haven't been to Gin Gins yet.
Okay, check it out.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Uh-huh.
What's one ritual or practice that keeps you grounded?
Oh, honestly, just being outdoors, right? I have to get outdoors, whether it's simply stepping out my front door and appreciating the migratory birds who have come back and they're landing in my front trees, or I need a little more than that, and it's take your shoes off and get barefoot and walk in the grass, appreciating the beads of dew in the morning or the frost. It's just, how do I connect with the natural world so that I can be better for her, so I can ground back in and steady myself.
That's so awesome. I now feel like I'm going to know this one. Favorite spot to be alone?
Outdoors.
Well, obviously, so we know about the Highlands. We know about this tree. We know about your front yard. Are there any other spots? Like, I'm thinking, like, I know you've been to, like, the islands. You guys went on this trip last year. The rocks, the giant rocks that you guys all traveled to on the trip with Kate.
Giant rocks?
The Isles of...
in Scotland?
Yeah, in Scotland.
Yeah.
So I'm like, obviously you weren't alone there, but I'm like, I'm trying to think of other spots where you found yourself alone in nature, or thing that was just like, wait, whoa.
Okay, so we have a property up north, and there are a couple acres around this property, and there's this grove of trees. Let me see if I can identify birch trees. Beech trees.
Beech.
There's a grove of beech, and below them is this really beautiful carpet of moss, and I just love to sit there. I love to lay down there and just stare up. I love to walk through that. It's a wonderful place to be alone.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, a woman, historical or present day, who inspires you, and can't be the same as the authors.
Oh, good. Well, I don't want to mention I love the authors, but I want to mention, like, every woman in my circle is a massive inspiration to me. So, your wife, our circle of friends. I am just in awe of the power I have around me in my local spaces, in my more intimate spaces. And while I would be sitting here for a very long time to list everyone, you know who you are. But also, and Joanna Macy, Robin Wall, Victoria Lors. She started the Wild Church movement, and that's a movement I'm part of. I'll think of more. We'll have to
I
come
love
back.
that. No, I love that. Okay, coffee, tea, or wine?
All of the above.
Oh, okay. I feel like that's a cheating answer, but I'll give it to you.
I mean, different times of day, right?
That's true. It's very true. So depending on the hour.
Depends on the rhythm. Yeah.
Okay. What's one piece of wisdom that you live by that you would like everybody else to know about?
Well, a few pieces, if I may. One, we're all walking each other home. How can we walk together? How can we get one another to where we're meant to be? The other is, if it's not a hell yes, it's probably a hell no. Feel that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then the third is, in what way can I reduce the suffering here? Like in this conversation, in the work I do, in my, in traffic, in a heated discussion.
Yeah.
In what way can I reduce the suffering? Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Okay. This is the soapbox moment.
Okay.
Vance and Company, we're an agency made up of just two white cisgender guys. You're our first guest who is a woman. That's actually quite intentional. It's a big deal in our mind, especially since you are so clearly in touch with your identity. And you're passionate about the subject of womanhood in general. Since we can't speak on this forum or the perspective really at all, what advice would you give to a young woman who is trying to stay true to themselves while navigating the professional and creative world? And you can look over there. You just pretend like you're literally talking right to her.
Yeah. Well, I think I have to gain my wisdom from the landscape first. So I might look out here and then tune in.
Yeah.
But wow. Yeah. In so many ways, I feel like I need to talk to my little self. I have to talk to little Amber in that camera. But find an elder. Find someone who can walk with you, who can help you navigate and can offer you nurturing guidance. And then from that guidance, that place of nurturance, find what is true for you. Find what's integrity to you. Find what that moral compass and that North Star is for you, and then hold on to it and don't let go. Because you don't have to. You don't have to mold to anyone else's North Star. Keep your own, and you'll get there.
That was so good. All right. This is kind of like a part two to this. What does our community, the city of Grand Rapids, and the world need right now from your perspective as a spiritual leader?
Ooh. I think we need to move into the feelings that hurt instead of trying to fix the problem from the pain. So
definitely elaborate on that.
Yeah, so move into the grief, feel the grief so fully, so on the floor, writhing, sobbing, feel it. Feel all that needs to be felt so that we can then operate from a place that feels steady and respond to what is needed, rather than being so jittery and responding from that place of jitteriness, which may in fact cause more trouble.
I kind of want to sit in this for a moment because this is definitely one of those things where it reminds me of there's Viktor Frankl a little bit, where he's describing about there's the event that happens and there's a moment between your response. There's a time and a space where you can decide how to respond to whatever the event has happened to you. And in that space, is typically a lot of feelings, a lot of experiences, and all the preconceived notions that you have about whatever experience you're having rush into that moment. And we typically go with a pattern.
Right.
We jump right away. Right. But what I'm hearing from you is hey, maybe in this little space, feel what is actually happening before stepping into it.
Well, there certainly are events that we need to respond to right away, right? In the moment, fight or flight, or handle with a, grounded response. But I think as collective, as a people, now is a really great time to just say, I'm grieving and this hurts, and I keep trying to fix the hurt by getting busier and approaching this with because I'm in so much pain, I'm going to move forward with an anger that will be perceived in many ways as an attack, rather, but or likely, but is really just a traumatized being, an individual who needs some more love and care. But when that experience is happening between two individuals who need more love and care, you don't get very far together, right? So I think we just need spaces that allow us to grieve together, to grieve openly. Francis Weller does a lot of grief work. He has a book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow, I believe. And
What a great title.
yeah, and it leads the reader through some things they can do for themselves, but it's also very encouraging around now do this in spaces together. And then just see what you feel like afterward, right? I don't know that the grief work leads us to the exact right answer for everyone, but just getting the emotion, the sensation, the trauma through us in a way that can be held with safety and love and tenderness then allows us to operate with a different energy. It allows us to choose in a different way. And I think that's what we need, is just these different ways of choosing.
It sounds so good.
I love this wild geese moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds good. I hopefully you could pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to be able to make sound choices from a place where we've moved an experience through us, rather than holding on to the experience and trying to fix it while we're in it. I think
that's wise.
Maybe I could be wrong, but let's give it a try.
I love that. I want to return to something, and mostly because people are probably going to be watching this and be like, well, this is an interesting choice in regards to who you're talking to, because we primarily live in like the content creation space. We help businesses grow. They might not think that this is actually part of it, but I do want to return to what you kind of said at the beginning. And like, I am who I am, and this company is literally called Vance and Company. It's my last name. I believe the space of creativity is actually where like all sorts of magic happens. I think things are transposed there. Pain, grief, all those is kind of like almost
creative act,
transmuted through us in like in the acts of making. And I even think like these kinds of conversations are also moments where we can be creative and connect and see things anew or different than we saw before. So I wanted to ask, like, when do you feel most creative within the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
You know, it comes to me in waves. It comes to me in what I like to call intuitive hits. Like that, I feel something so intimately that I have to work with it, and so it just comes.
Okay. Do you have any practices that you feel like help bring it forward, or are there any things that you like? When you feel that feeling, what do you do with it? Like, how do you then transmute it, if you will, into something new?
Yeah. Well, back to yoga and mindfulness and these practices of contemplation and discernment. Meditation is a huge tool for me, right? Being able to quiet myself enough, or at least speak kindly enough to myself, that I'm able to operate with a grounded energy, right? Or with that sense of love for myself so that I can bring love into the world. I think that primary practice of meditation is key. It's, hey.
It's on the phone.
And then from there, just being, I think that makes me a vessel. I think that those practices, that way of getting quiet enough to listen, allows me to be a vessel that can then receive. And this is where our conversation around magic comes in, right? Or spirit, or higher power, or great mystery, whatever beautiful name you want to give it. We have to allow it in somehow.
Yes.
And it's hard to allow it in when we're rushing, we're churning, we're gripping. And so I think it all starts with allowing ourselves to somehow find a way to get quiet enough.
I love that. I once had a counseling session with a dear friend of mine, and I tend to act like an ox when situations arise where I feel like I have to defend, I will plant myself and will
Okay.
become immovable. Something that I was insightful for me and that resonates with everything that you're just saying is she just reminded me that even though that firmness has gotten you this far, maybe tender could be a way forward instead of just, like, oh, I'm not going to move.
Right.
What if tender is the way, And I was
Yeah.
like, what you're saying about mindfulness and what you're saying about allowing that magic to me recently has felt, how can I be more tender with this
love
instead
that.
of holding
I
on for
especially
dear
love
life?
that a man is using that word, tender.
Tender.
Yeah.
I have a lot so far to go with that, but it's definitely something that I'm trying to bring more
Keep
forward.
exploring that.
Yes,
Peyton.
yes, it's definitely
Yeah.
something I will continue to explore. But it is, I mean, even with my sons, I'm learning like, oh wait, this is an opportunity right now for me to be a bit more tender instead of,
Yeah.
what are you doing,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
As you know,
Absolutely.
because you also have sons.
Yes, I
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
I do know.
Cool. All right. Well, we've kind of moved through all our questions, and the reality is this went so much faster than I thought it was going to. But I'm super curious if there's anything that you wanted to ask me, or if there's any curiosities that you have. The floor is kind of yours.
Gosh, I don't have anything brewing at the moment. I should have prepared something, huh?
No. I didn't tell you that I would turn the
okay.
tables.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just really appreciate this opportunity to sit down and talk with you.
Me
Kate.
too. It's been a long time coming.
It has been.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've sort of been orbiting one another, and we're woven together by a very important thread in Kate. And yeah, this just feels like an important time to be doing this. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy
Yeah.
that you did, and we're very grateful that you decided to join us on this. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dom.